Sankirtanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're continuing our study Srimad Bhagavatam. This evening we're on Canto 9, chapter number 22, the descendants of Ajamita. So Sukadeva Goswami begins telling us about different kings in this Chandravamsa. And we hear, text number 2, how King Drupada was born, and he was opulent in all supremacy. Now, King Drupada had many sons, headed by Drishtadyumna. Of course, and not only Drishtadyumna, but Draupadi was also born at the same time as Drishtadyumna. Both of them were born from the fire, and Maharaj Drupada did a yagya specially to get a son who could kill Drona. Because Dronacharya was the enemy of Maharaj Drupada. Previously they had been friends when they were young. They were in the Gurukula. But Drupada was rich and Drona was very poor. And so at one point Drona came to Drupada for help. But Drupada refused him and told him that, how is it possible? He said, we cannot be friends. He said, friendship is only possible between equals. So it's not, I can't help you. So then Drona went to Hastinapur and he trained the Kauravas and the Pandavas. He trained all the children there in military arts. And then he sent them to defeat Drona, to defeat Drupada. And they brought Drupada and placed him at the feet of Drona, and Drona took away half the kingdom of Maharaj Drupada. So Drupada was very bitter and he did a yagya. He wanted a son to kill Drona, and that was Drishtadyumna. And of course Draupadi, she was also a major force in the battle of Kurukshetra coming about. Alright, so these are all indicated here. Then the next verse describes about some more kings. Another son of Ajamita was known as Riksha. From Riksha came a son named Samvarana, and from Samvarana, through the womb of his wife, Tapati, the daughter of the sun god, came Kuru, the king of Kurukshetra. Kuru had 4 sons, Parikshit, Sudanu, Janu, and Nishada. From Sudanu, Sahotra was born, and from Sahotra, Chayavana. From Chayavana, Kriti was born. So like that, different names, different kings are mentioned. Text number 8 says, through the womb of another wife, Brihadrata begot 2 halves of a son. When the mother saw these 2 halves, she rejected them. But later, a she-demon named Jara playfully joined them and said, come to life, come to life. Thus the son named Jarasandha was born. So of course Jarasandha went on to become a very powerful king. but he was, although he was very powerful, he was on the side of the demons, and Kamsa was his good friend. Actually, all the daughters of Jarasandha were married to Kamsa. When Kamsa was killed, his daughters came home crying that they were widows. Their husband had been killed by Krishna. And so Jarasandha attacked Mathura with his army, and 17 times Krishna defeated him. 17 times he came and came and came. Every time Lord Krishna would defeat the whole army and send Jarasandha away. So at one point, Maharaj Yudhisthira wanted to perform Rajasuya Yagna, and he understood in order to perform it successfully, they have to get submission from all of the kings. And the major obstacle would be Jarasandha. And Jarasandha was very powerful. So they knew that Jarasandha liked to give charity to Brahmanas. Although he was on the side of the demons, he liked to give charity to Brahmanas because he knew it was very beneficial for him. He got a lot of material benefit by giving charity to Brahmanas. So Lord Krishna, Arjuna and Bhima disguised themselves as Brahmanas, and they went to Jarasandha to beg charity. And the charity they asked Jarasandha was, we want a duel, we want to fight you. So Jarasandha looked at them and he said to Arjuna, he said, you're not strong enough. He said, you won't give me a good fight. And they said to Lord Krishna, he said, the last time I fought you, you ran away from the battlefield. So I'm not going to fight you again, you're a coward. But he said to Bhima, I will fight you. You will give me a good fight. And so Jarasandha and Bhima went to battle and they fought for, how many days was it? 28 days or 17 days or something. Many days and nights they fought. And no one could get victory. And Bhima was becoming frustrated. He thought, I can't defeat him. But then Lord Krishna gave him the clue. Lord Krishna picked up a twig and split it down the middle, because Lord Krishna knew about Jarasandha's birth. So he revealed this to Bhima. So Bhima understood what he had to do, and he went out and he put one foot on the foot of Jarasandha and took hold of his other foot with his arms and ripped him right down the middle. He ripped him into two halves, and then he threw the two halves far away from each other. And this way, Bhima defeated Jarasandha. But Jarasandha, he'd been a very powerful person, very powerful. He had a big kingdom. Although he was demoniac. Okay, so then we're told about from Jarasandha, different sons, and then from Kuru, it said the son of Kuru called Pariksi had no sons, but the son of Kuru called Janu had a son named Surata. And then we're told about Surata's sons and sons of the sun. And then it goes on, the different children, and the sons, and the kings, and the sons. And then text 13 describes the sons of Pratipa were Devapi, Santanu, and Balika. Devapi left the kingdom of his father and went to the forest, and therefore Shantanu became the king. Shantanu, who in his previous birth was known as Mahabisha, had the ability to transform anyone from old age to youth simply by touching that person with his hands. So you could imagine someone who has that kind of mystic power is very powerful. Today, if someone has that power, they will make a lot of money, they'll have a lot of people coming to them. They can transform anyone from old age to youth just by touching them with their hands. So in his previous life, Maharaj Santanu had that power. And then the next verse goes on to say, because the king was able to make everyone happy for sense gratification, primarily by the touch of his hand, his name was Shantanu. Once, when there was no rainfall in the kingdom for 12 years, and the king consulted his learned Brahminical advisors, they said, "You are faulty for enjoying the property of your elder brother. For the elevation of your kingdom and home, you should return the kingdom to him." So remember, we said the elder brother of Maharaj Santanu had gone to the forest, and in the absence of the older brother, Shantanu had become king. But then, somehow there was no rain for a long time. And the Brahmanas told him, they said, the reason is because you're enjoying the property of your elder brother. And Prabhupada's purport says, one cannot enjoy sovereignty or perform an Agnihotri Yagna in the presence of one's elder brother, or else one becomes an usurper known as Praveta. So this is a principle of etiquette, that in the presence of the elder brother, you cannot sit on the throne and become the king. And neither can you perform an Agnihotri Yagna even in the presence of your elder brother. So this is what happened, and it brought some trouble to Maharaj Santanu. So when the Brahmanas said this, Maharaj Santanu went to the forest, and he requested his elder brother, Devapi, to take charge of the kingdom. It is the duty of a king to maintain his subjects. Previously, however, Santanu's minister, Ashvavara, had instigated some Brahmanas to induce Devapi to transgress the injunctions of the Vedas, and thus make himself unfit for the post of ruler. Yeah, if someone goes against the injunctions of the Vedas, then that's quite serious, and you can't become the ruler. So the Brahmanas deviated Devapi from the path of the Vedic principles, and therefore, when asked by Santanu, he did not agree to accept the post of ruler. On the contrary, he blasphemed the Vedic principles and therefore became fallen. Under the circumstances, Santanu again became the king, and Indra, being pleased, showered rains. Devapi later took to the path of mystic yoga to control his mind and senses, and went to the village named Kulapagram, where he is still living. Whoa. So, some people have that desire. They like to have the long life. So this was how Maharaj Santanu had to deal with this issue. And then the chapter goes on, texts 18 and 19. After the dynasty of the moon god comes to an end in this age of Kali, Devapi, in the beginning of the next Satya Yuga, will re-establish the Soma dynasty in this world. From Balika, the brother of Shantanu, came a son named Somadatta, who had 3 sons, named Buri, Burishrava, and Shala. From Santanu, through the womb of his wife named Ganga, came Bhishma, the exalted, self-realized devotee and learned scholar. So Maharaj Santanu accepted Mother Ganga as his wife, and they begot many children, but one after another, Mother Ganga would take the children and throw them in the Ganga. And when it finally came the 8th child, Maharaj Santanu stopped her and said, "No, I'm not going to allow you to go and throw this child into the Ganga." So immediately Mother Ganga left him, because Mother Ganga had taken Santanu as a husband just for the sake that she could beget these children who were actually demigods who had been cursed to take birth on earth. So she was giving birth to them through her womb, but after they were born, she'd throw them into the Ganga, and then they would go back to the heavenly planets. So this was Mother Ganga's plan, but Maharaj Santanu became attached to the children. And when the 8th child came, he wouldn't let her throw the child into the Ganga. So that 8th child, that child grew up to be Bhishma, the exalted, self-realized devotee and learned scholar. So Bhishma Dev, of course, he took the vow of brahmachari, so that Maharaj Santanu, after Mother Ganga left him, Maharaj Santanu has no wife, so he wanted another wife. And there was one beautiful girl named Satyavati who he desired to marry. But Satyavati's father would not allow her to marry Santanu, because he said, he already has a son. He already has this son Bhishma. And so if you marry Santanu, your children will have no position. They won't be able to become rulers. So her father would not agree. But then Bhishma understood, and he said, well, I vow I will not marry. And if I don't marry, then I cannot be the king, because the king has to sit on the throne, and he has to have descendants to take the throne after him. So Bhishma Dev said, I will remain brahmachari. So Maharaj Santanu was very pleased with him, because he had arranged like that. And he gave Bhima the blessing that he could live as long as he liked, that he would not leave the body until he was actually ready to depart from the body. So Bhishma Dev was a great warrior, and at one point he had to fight with Parasurama. Parasurama was his guru, actually. And what happened, there was, after Maharaj Santanu married Satyavati, so they had the child Vichitravirya. And Vichitravirya, he left the body prematurely without producing a child. So, now while he was still living, Bhishma Dev went and brought some girls, some princesses who would be suitable queens for Vichitravirya. He brought actually 3 sisters. Well, one sister was already engaged, so she left and went back, and the other 2 sisters stayed and were married to Vichitravirya. But then when Vichitravirya left the body without producing any children, then they called for Srila Vyasadeva, because Vyasadeva was also a son of Satyavati. That Satyavati had already had a son by Parasara Muni. So Vyasadeva was called, and he produced sons. But the 3rd girl, who Bhishma Dev had taken away with the idea that she would also marry Vichitravirya, she went to Parasuram, and she said that she was supposed to get married to one king, but when Bhishma Dev captured her and took her to Vichitravirya, so the king would not have anything more to do with her. He said, you've already been touched by another man. I'm not going to marry you. You've lost your chastity. So she said to Bhishma that you should marry me now. But Bhishma Dev said, no, I'm not going to marry anyone. I vowed brahmacharya. So then the girl went to Parasuram, and she talked to Parasuram, and Parasuram said, don't worry, I will tell Bhishma Dev he has to marry you. So Parasuram talked to Bhishma Dev, and Bhishma Dev said, no, I vowed brahmacharya. So Lord Parasuram then said, then you have to fight me. If you're not going to follow my order, then you fight. And if you defeat me, then I will agree. If you cannot defeat me, you have to follow my order. So then they fought, the 2 of them fought. and Parasuram was not able to defeat Bhishmadev. So the girl could not marry Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev remained brahmacharya. So he defeated Lord Parasuram in the fight. Lord Parasuram was very satisfied with him. And by the semen of Santanu in the womb of Satyavati, who was the daughter of a fisherman, Chitrangada took birth. From the purport, we're told Satyavati was actually the daughter of Upichara by the womb of a fisherwoman known as Matsyagarbha. Later, Satyavati was raised by a fisherman. So she was actually the daughter of Upachara Vasu. Then the fight between Parasurama and Bhishmadev concerned the three daughters of Kasiraj. The three daughters' names were Ambika, Ambalika and Amba. They'd all been kidnapped by Bhishmadev to take them to marry Vijravirya. Now Amba thought that Bhishmadev would marry her, and she had become attached to him. But Bhishmadev refused to marry her because he'd already vowed brahmacharya. So Amba went to Parasurama and complained, and Parasurama told Bhishma he should marry her, but when he refused, they fought. But Parasurama was defeated, and he was pleased with Bhishma, that Bhishma had become a great fighter, so much so that Parasurama could not defeat him. So we heard Satyavati and Vijravirya, they had a child Chitrangada. And Vijravirya was the younger brother. Chitrangada was killed by a Gandharva, who was also named Chitrangada. And then we're told how Satyavati had already given birth to Vyasadeva, and Sukadeva Goswami said that I studied the Srimad Bhagavatam from Srila Vyasadeva. Sukadeva said, I was born from Srila Vyasadeva and I studied this Srimad Bhagavatam under him. So Vedavyas, Srila Vyasadeva, rejecting his disciples, he instructed Srimad Bhagavatam to Sukadeva Goswami because he was free from all material desires. So that's a good qualification for someone studying Srimad Bhagavatam. If we bring material desires into the Srimad Bhagavatam, it will not be good. We have to give up material desires. Then we can properly understand Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're told the two girls, Ambika and Ambalika, were married to Vijravirya, but because he was too attached to these two wives, he had a heart attack and died of tuberculosis. Okay. And so when he died, then Srila Vyasadeva was called, and he begot three sons. He begot the three sons, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura. Vidura, of course, being conceived in the womb of Vichitravirya's maidservant. Okay, so this when the system of begetting a child in the womb of the brother's wife, this was there in previous ages. It's not allowed in the Kali Yuga. This system is known as Devarena Sutotpati. So Kali Yuga, these things are prohibited. So then we're told about Dhritarashtra's wife, Gandhari. She gave birth to 100 sons and 1 daughter. The oldest of the sons was Duryodhana, and the daughter's name was Dushala. Now Maharaj Pandu, right, there were 3 brothers, Pandu, Dhritarashtra and Vidura. So Pandu had to refrain from sex life because of being cursed by a sage. And therefore, his 3 sons, Yudhisthira, Bhima and Arjuna, were not actually his children, but they were begotten through demigods in the womb of his wife Kunti. First by Dharmaraj, and then by the demigod controlling the wind, Vayu, and finally by the demigod controlling the rain, Indra. So when Kunti had 3 children, so Pandu had a second wife named Madri, and she asked Kunti if she could borrow Kunti's benediction and have a child herself. She thought, you have 3 children, I don't have any. So can you give your benediction to me and I can also have a child? Because Pandu had a restriction, he's not allowed to have any sexual activity. So Kunti agreed, but when Madri got the benediction, then she called 2 demigods, she called the Aswini Kumaras, and so she begot 2 children. She took advantage of the benediction of Kunti to call 2 demigods. She was supposed to get 1 child, but she got 2. So these 2, of course, were Nakula and Sahadev, both begotten by the Ashwini Kumaras. So the 5 brothers begot 5 sons through the womb of Draupadi. These 5 sons were your uncles. Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami says to Maharaj Parikshit, the 5 sons of Draupadi, begot by the 5 Pandavas, each Pandava begot a child in the womb of Draupadi. So there were 5 sons. Of course, they were all killed by Ashwatthama. So then chapter goes on to give the names of each of the sons. From Yudhisthira came a son named Prativindya, and from Bhima a son named Shrutasen, from Arjuna a son named Shrutakirti, and from Nakula a son named Shatanika. The son of Sahadev was Shrutakarma. Yudhisthira and his brothers begot other sons in other wives. Yudhisthira begot a son named Devaka through the womb of Puravi, and Bhimasen begot a son named Gatotkacha through his wife Hidimba, and a son named Sarvagata through his wife Kali. Similarly, Sahadev had a son named Suhotra through his wife named Vijay, who was the daughter of the king of the mountains. Nakula begot a son named Naramitra through his wife named Karenumati. Similarly, Arjuna begot a son named Iravan through his wife known as Ulupi, the daughter of the Nagas, and a son named Babruvahan by the womb of the princess of Manipur. Babruvahan became the adopted son of the king of Manipur. So Arjuna's sons, famous, of course, Iravan, through Ulupi. Ulupi was the daughter of the Nagas, one of Arjuna's wives. Arjuna had 4 wives, right? There was Draupadi, and then there was Ulupi, and then there was this Nagnajiti, huh? Not Nagnajiti, what's it? Subhadra, yes, Subhadra was there. Subhadra was the sister of Krishna, But there was one girl from Manipur, the princess of Manipur. What was her name? Oh, Chitrangada. Chitrangada was her name. She was the princess of Manipur. So when she gave birth, Babruvahan, he was adopted by the king of Manipur. So people in Manipur, Prabhupada talks about Manipur, how it's a Vaishnava kingdom. He said actually the Pandavas, when the Pandavas ruled, Manipur existed. And at that time it was a Vaishnava kingdom. So in Manipur they have that respect for Vaishnavism. And Prabhupada says Manipuri Vaishnavas are very famous in Vaishnava society. In both Vrindavan and Navadvip, there are many temples constructed by the king of Manipur. Some of our devotees belong to the Manipuri state. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, can be well spread in the state of Manipur by the cooperative efforts of the Krishna conscious devotees. So, of course, we see there are temples in Navadvip there, which are belonging to the king of Manipur, and similarly also in Vrindavan. Actually, His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, he was from Manipur. He was a very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj was given 2 temples by the king of Manipur. One temple is in Radhakund and another temple is in Navadvip. They were both given to him by the king of Manipur. So you can see Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj's Samadhi is there in the temple in Radhakund. And the temple over in Navadvip is also there, very nice. It was also donated to Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. And they have other temples. There are many temples there actually, which are Manipuri temples. All right. So we're told about the different wives of the Pandavas and their different children. And then we're told about Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is the father of Maharaj Parikshit. And Sukadeva Goswami said, your father, Abhimanyu, was born from the womb of Subhadra as the son of Arjuna. And he was the conqueror of all Atirats. Atirats means those who could fight with 1,000 charioteers. My goodness, huh? One man could fight with 1,000 charioteers. From him, by the womb of Uttara, the daughter of Viradraj, you were born. So Maharaj Parikshit was born in the womb of Uttara, the daughter of Viradraja. Abhimanyu. This marriage was arranged actually by Arjuna, who was the father of Abhimanyu. That Arjuna, during the time of when the Pandavas were in exile, they had to spend 1 year incognito. And at that time Arjuna was in the kingdom of Viraj, and he was teaching dance to the daughter of the king of Viraj. But then the Kauravas came attacking the kingdom. So Arjuna went and fought them and defeated them and sent them away. And so the king of Viraj was so grateful, he said, I'll give you my daughter as a wife. But Arjuna said, no, I have already my wife, and she's a young girl, and I'm not suitable. He said, but I'll take your daughter, she can marry my son. And so that's what happened. Uttara was married to Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was a young man, and Uttara was the young woman. They were a good match for each other. And in this way, their marriage took place, and she conceived a child. But then the battle of Kurukshetra came, and Abhimanyu was ruthlessly killed by the Kauravas during the battle of Kurukshetra. So Uttara was a widow, but she's pregnant, she's carrying a child. So she did not give up her body, she has to deliver the child. But then Ashwatthama threw the Brahmastra weapon, and at that time Uttara came running to Lord Krishna to protect her. And Lord Krishna saved the child in the womb. So all of this is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto. So after the Kuru dynasty was annihilated at the battle of Kurukshetra, Sukadeva Goswami is describing, he said, "You were about to be destroyed by the Brahmastra weapon released by the son of Drona, namely Ashwatthama. But by the mercy of Lord Krishna, you were saved from death." So, Maharaj Parikshit, he's also known as Vishnu Rata, one who's protected by Lord Vishnu. And the word Parikshit means also the examiner, because when he was in the womb, he saw Lord Krishna, he saw that form of the Super Soul, how the Lord was protecting him from the glaring heat of the Brahmastra weapon. So after taking birth, he was always examining, where is that form? When will I see that wonderful form again? I like that. Okay, so this is all Mahabharata things. And then Sukadeva Goswami goes on to describe the 4 sons of Parikshit. Parikshit had 4 sons. First is Janmanjaya, then Shrutasena, Bhimasena, Ugrasena. Janmanjaya is the eldest. All 4 sons are very powerful. But Maharaj Parikshit, he's cursed to die. He's going to die very soon. And Sukadeva Goswami tells him, he said, because of your death by the Takshaka snake, your son Janmanjaya will be very angry and will perform a sacrifice to kill all the snakes in the world. After conquering throughout the world and after accepting Tura, the son of Kalesha, as his priest, Janmanjaya will perform Ashwamedha Yagyas, for which he will be known as Turaga Medasat. Of course, Maharaj Janmanjaya was going to do a yagna to kill all the snakes, but at a certain point, before he could do it, the sages came to him and told him that this is not proper, that you cannot interfere with the Lord's creation. These snakes are arranged by the Lord. It's part of the creation, and you cannot just kill all the snakes. So Janmanjaya had to stop that yagya. And Maharaj Sukadeva Goswami goes on describing more what's going to happen in the future, describing about the son of Janmanjaya and what he will do. He will learn the military art from Kripacharya, the transcendental science from the sage Shonaka.
Maharaj, who is Kripacharya?
Kripacharya? Who is that?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, we heard in the previous chapter, remember, there were 2 children. They had been left in the forest, Kripa and Kripi. The boy got the name Kripa and the girl got the name Kripi. They were left in the forest and they were found by one king. And
yes, Shantanu, King Shantanu.
Uh-huh.
So this is that Kripa?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Maharaj, thank you.
And then text 40 describes, when the town of Hastinapur, meaning what is now New Delhi, when it's inundated by the river Nemichakra, Nemichakra will live in the place known as Kaushambi. His son will be celebrated as Chitraratha, and the son of Chitrarat will be Suchirat. Okay, so Nemichakra. Nemichakra was the son of Asima Krishna. Asima Krishna. And Asima Krishna was the son of Ashvamedaja, described in text 39. Alright, text 41. From Suchirata will come the son named Vrishtiman, and his son Sushena will be the emperor of the entire world. The son of Sushena will be Sunita, his son will be Nirichaksu, and from Nirichaksu will come a son named Sukinala. The son of Sukinala will be Pariplava, and his son will be Shunaya. From Shunaya will come a son named Medavi, and from Medavi, Nipanjaya. From Nipanjaya, Durva, and from Durva, Timi. On and on like that, different kings are named. 44, 45, son of... This text 45, the son of Mahinara will be Dandapani, and his son will be Nimi, from whom King Shimaka will be born. I have now described to you the moon god's dynasty, which is the source of Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, and is worshipped by demigods and great saints. In this Kali Yuga, Shimaka will be the last monarch. Now I shall describe to you the future of the Magadha dynasty. Please listen. All right, so Sahadeva, the son of Jarasandha. So it appears it begins with Jarasandha.
Maharaj, if it's okay to ask a couple of questions before we go ahead with another aspect of the dynasties.
Okay.
Maharaj, Vyasadeva rejected disciples headed up by Pela. Maharaj, is there any reason given why he rejected them?
Well, why did he accept Sukadev? Because Sukadev had no material desires, right? All these others, they had material desires.
Okay, so we're going with that because there's no other reason.
Yeah.
Highlighted. Okay, fine. And then Maharaj, we hear Vichitya because he was attached to his wives. Therefore, he developed a heart attack and died of tuberculosis. That's the reason it's supposed to be. That's the reason given. Why he developed heart attack, tuberculosis. I'm trying to understand the connection. What's the connection between tuberculosis and being too attached to the wife?
Well, when you're too much attached to the woman, then you have too much intimate relations with them and will weaken your health. If you have too much sex with a woman, it's very detrimental for a man's health. Because the semen is very important for the health of the man. And if the man passes too much semen, then it will greatly weaken his health, and he will not have any resistance to fight against disease.
Okay, so basically his immunity is lowered because of too much sense gratification.
Yes.
Okay, fine. And then Maharaj, in terms of, because we're speaking quite a bit about the men, when they engage in sense gratification, then there seems to be a great loss on all levels, and physically as well. So what happens when it comes to women? Women also seem to develop lack of immunity, and they die because of various reasons. So what is the result of a woman's sense gratification? Is there any result? Is there any reaction? Any physical reaction like the man?
Well, they're going to have more children usually. If they conceive children, they give birth to more children. Then every time they give birth to a child, then of course it's quite weakening on the body of a woman to give birth to the child. They have to carry the child in their womb for 8-9 months before they deliver the child. So they have to be very careful at that period of time. Certainly it can be quite weakening for them to have children. Can leave them quite weak. They have to eat more. They have to, they need a lot of care.
So other than child, there doesn't seem to be any other losses for a woman engaging in self-gratification.
No, not like a man.
Right, well, can I just interject?
Yes.
Having children is very, very difficult. So it's not just having children. Just having children is a huge, huge burden. I've only got 2, and it's a lot of hard work. The pregnancy is hard. The labour is hard. The sleepless nights are hard. Training them is hard. So I would say that's a huge reaction to sense gratification.
Yes, definitely, yes. Not an easy thing, bringing up children, giving birth to children. The pregnancy also is quite difficult. Women often vomit during the pregnancy.
Marge, also another question. So, actually, in terms of Pandu being born, Dhritarashtra being born, and then later on the Pandavas like Bhima, Arjuna, Yudhishthira, like that. So technically they're not really part of this dynasty because Vyasadeva is not coming in the line, or Parshara Muni is not coming in the line of this dynasty. And also the mothers are not also coming in this line either. Right? Mm-hmm. So just wondering your thoughts on that. Like, for example, Kunti is not part of this line other than just being a wife of Pandu. And then also Surya or Vayu or Indra, they're not really part of this. But it somehow is counted as because they had a previous, they have some connection. So it's counted as that these persons are part of this. But there's no biological connection. There's no physical connection. Mm-hmm. So I just find that interesting. So really it's Vyasadeva or it's Parshara Muni's line, this one, later on.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Or the line of the demigods. Like maybe the Pandavas.
Mm-hmm. Line of the demigods. Well, certainly the demigods are favouring the Pandavas, yeah. Yes. Well, that's expected, that the Pandavas, because they are devotees, so they get the favour of the demigods. And Kunti she'd earned the favour by her service to Vivishwan. She'd pleased the sun god Vivishwan, and he'd given her that benediction that she could call people. And the demigods naturally favour the devotees. But the demigods will be on the side of the devotees, because the devotees, they will respect the demigods. Well, the demons, of course, also worship the demigods, but the demons worship demigods to get something. They want. They're always motivated in their worship, what they want to get from the demigods. It's not just respecting them, but they want some benedictions from them to help their own sense gratification. So it's a business exchange between the demons and the demigods. The devotees, like the Pandavas, they respect the demigods and they're not seeking any benediction, they're not looking for anything from them. They're just respecting them, but their worship, ultimately their worship is to the Supreme Lord, Lord Vishnu. They worship the Supreme Lord. So, which line they're coming in, and yeah, one is Surya Vamsa, one is Chandra Vamsa, different kings. This is because Lord Krishna is coming up, so is Chandra Vamsa going to be in the line coming from the moon. They're both pious planets, the sun and the moon. They're heavenly planets. They're planets of, where pious people will go there. People like Jarasandha and Kamsa. And so, now Kamsa, of course, is also born in that family, but Kamsa, his birth was something else. Like the woman was raped and she gave birth to Kamsa. He was a child produced when the woman was raped by someone. So his birth was not auspicious. So although he was born in that family of the Yadu dynasty, he was a demon.
Marge, earlier on we were hearing about Brihaspati forcefully coming together with his brother's wife. And we don't hear that the product of that or the child was a demon. But in case of Kamsa, he's a demon. So how do we understand it in one case where the person is forced? Is not, it seems like there is a pious person that's born, because he's then adopted later on. He's looked after by the demigods, and then adopted later on by I can't remember the name now. Bharat.
Well, that was higher planets, right? That went on in the higher planets, Brihaspati and the woman. That was taking place on the higher.
Mamta.
Hmm?
Maharaj Mamta.
Mamata.
Yes.
So Mamata, this was in the heavenly planets, but this Kamsa and his, the woman, the mother, she was a foolish woman as well. It was foolish that somehow. Anyway, she got raped, and the result was Kamsa. So things which happen on the heavenly planets, the taking birth there in the heavenly planets, they already have quite a bit of piety to be there, even though it may have been irreligious without the marriage. Yeah, okay. So
Maharaj, I have a question. Maharaj, Maharaj, can I ask my question? I have one.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Maharaj, why Bhismadev abducted Ambika, Ambalika, Amba? What is the reason behind that?
Well, to get wives for his brother, his stepbrother, Vichitravirya. The Vichitravirya, apparently, he's not in the best of health or something, he's not so powerful, not a great Kshatriya. And Bhishma is a great Kshatriya. And so for Bhishma Dev, it was not a big issue. He could go there and these 3 girls, they were supposed to get married, so he just went and kidnapped them.
Okay.
Yeah, for Bhishma Dev, it was not a very big thing. He considered it like his duty to make arrangements for his younger brother to get some suitable wives for him. So he brought these 3 sisters, and he thought they will make good wives for his younger brother. But, you know, one of the girls got attached to Bhishma. That's the problem when you get involved in these kind of things. So Bhishma got in trouble, he got involved, and ultimately that girl also, she came back as a man in the next life and was the cause of Bhishma's death. And she vowed to get revenge on him because he would not marry her. Okay, that's all Mahabharata, Leela. Okay.
So Maharaj, yes, it is also, I have a particular question that Ashwamedha sacrifices are being repeatedly performed by different kings for their achievements, most particularly the Thorn of King Indra. Indra had performed 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices, and Yudhishthira Maharaj performed Rajashu Yajna. Okay, then other kings have Ashwamedha sacrifices. What is the significance of sacrificing horse in Yajna? Because there are other animals like elephant and other animals like that. Is there any spiritual relevance regarding sacrificing horse in Yajna?
Well, these are the 2 animals which are mentioned, Ashwamedha and Gavamedha, the horse and the cow. So, these 2 animals are mentioned in the Vedic scriptures. You see, the sacrifice itself is beneficial for the animal, that they'll be born rejuvenated. They will take a young body. The old animal would be sacrificed and would be reborn as a young animal. And of course they put...
Maharaj, only Maharaj horse? Okay, Maharaj, I'm sorry, yes.
They would do these things for...
Maharaj, please continue.
They would do the yajna for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. That they sacrifice the animal for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. The whole yajna, it has to be done in that consciousness that it's done for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And they also show the strength, the purity of the performers of the yajna. They have to chant the mantras perfectly. Everything has to be done exactly perfectly. Everything must be very pure. The people chanting the mantras have to be very pure. And the mantras have to be perfectly chanted. And when they do everything perfectly, then they get the result. The animal is reborn. It's a young animal.
Maharaj, only 2 animals, horse and cow.
Yes, that's all, the only 2 which are mentioned. Of course, you get other religions, they do things like the goat, you know. In the Islamic tradition, they will sacrifice the goat. Will depend on the particular situation, where you are, which kind of place you're in. In some places there would be cows, other places there would be no cows, there will only be goats. But the cow, consider the cow Ashwamedha and Gavamedha. And the horses are also, you know, they're very dear to people. You become very, you know, you value them. So you want to sacrifice something which you value. If you just sacrifice something like a goat, you know, you don't really value goats very much. But you sacrifice a horse or a cow, they're very valuable creatures. And so it's done for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. You want to sacrifice something which you value. You don't want to just offer something you don't want to the Lord. You want to offer Him the best, right?
Yes,
Okay.
So Maharaj, what is the yes, purpose of Agnihotra Yajna? Agnihotra? Here it is mentioned.
Agnihotra. Where does it
Okay.
mean? Well, that just means fire sacrifice, right? The Agnihotra, you can do it for any kind of purpose. It depends what you want to do. What is your purpose? What is the motivation? In the Treta Yuga, then the system was to do yajna. So they would do it. They would do these different yagas because that was how they become perfect, by doing the yagya. So Agnihotri, fire sacrifice, offering everything, offer jewels into the fire, offer grains into the fire, offer the ghee into the fire, everything will be offered into and the mouth of the fire represents the Supreme Lord. So everything you offer into the fire is an offering to the Supreme Lord. Okay?
Yes, Maharaj. The Kalapugram is an eternal planet because where he is still living, Devapapi just proceeded to Kalapugram, and where he is still living. What is the significance of Kalapugram?
I don't know that. We're not told that, but somewhere, some village somewhere, some remote part of the world. But maybe somewhere else in Bhumandala. You see, we only know about things on, even there's many places on this planet we don't know about. There's many places, you go into the Himalayas, there's many regions we don't know about. They're unexplored. Okay.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Yes, Maharaj.
Maharaj, I have one question. Can I ask, please?
Okay.
Verse number 15, purport, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that if one has elderly brother, he can take his father property kingdom, or also he cannot perform Agnihotra Yajna. So, if elder brother not devotee, if he no do nothing, if younger brother become a devotee, so why younger brother no can take this father's property and perform Agnihotra Yajna?
Well, the point is, if the elder brother is there, you cannot do it. If the elder brother is not there, if he's given up everything, if he's gone against the Vedas, then you can do it. But if the elder brother is there, and if he's still active, then you cannot do it in his presence.
But he's not devotee, Maharaj, but other brothers are devotee.
Well, if not,
for me people. In that case, what happened?
well, you have to give him a chance to be devotee because he's the elder brother, so he has the right. But if he offends, if he blasphemes the Vedas, if he goes against the Vedic, then you can disregard him.
Okay, if he's blasphemous, if he do not follow the rules and regulation,
Yeah.
if he do his karmic activity, then younger brother is right to do this Agnihotra Gotra and take father property, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right, so you can see the final verse of this chapter. This is the history of a monarchy that began with Jarasandha and continues for 1,000 years as the above-mentioned kings appear on the surface of the globe. Okay, we'll go on to the next chapter because we have to finish. We have 2 chapters still remaining, and we only have tonight and tomorrow night. So we'll go on to the next chapter now. So this is chapter number 23. All right. So Sukadeva Goswami is describing about the 4th son of Yayati. And then from Sinjai. So different names are mentioned. Text number 5 says, by the semen of Dirgatama, and the wife of Bali, the emperor of the world, 6 sons took birth. Okay. These 6 sons, headed by Anga, later became kings of 6 states in the eastern side of India. And these states were known according to the names of these kings.
Maharaj, this body would be the brother of Angada? No, it is definitely not Bali Maharaj. It is the elder brother of Angada. Sugriva, I'm sorry.
Elder brother of who?
Sugriv.
Where are you reading from?
Maharaj, just now, verse number 5. By the semen of Dirgatama in the wife of Bali, the emperor of the world, 6 sons took birth, namely Anga, Banga, Kalinga, Sumba, Pundra and Udra. Son of wife of Bali means this Bali is the brother of Sugriva or someone else?
I think someone else. We don't know about this. Bali, which Bali is it? You're talking about Sugriva. You're talking about the Banaras.
Sugriva's brother, yes.
Yeah. You're somewhere else. Yeah. There are many Balis, you know. Yeah, I think that's some other Bali you're talking about. Okay, let's go ahead. Text 7 to 10 describes about, there was Divirata, from Divirata came a son named Dharmarata, and his son was Chitrarata, who was celebrated as Romapad. Romapad, however, was without an issue, and therefore his friend Maharaj Dasarat gave him his own daughter, named Shanta. Romapad accepted her as his daughter, and thereafter she married Rishi Shringa. When the demigods from the heavenly planets failed to shower rain, Rishi Shringa was appointed the priest for performing a sacrifice. After being brought from the forest by the allurement of prostitutes who danced, staged theatrical performances accompanied by music, and embraced and worshipped him. After Rishi Shringa came, the rain fell. Thereafter, Rishi Shringa performed a sun-giving sacrifice on behalf of Maharaj Dasarat, who had no issue. And then Maharaj Dasarat had sons. From Romapad, by the mercy of Rishi Shringa, Chaturanga was born, and from Chaturanga came Prithu Laksha. So Rishi Shringa, he was an interesting personality. He was living in the forest with his father. His father had brought the boy to the forest when he was still a very small child. And he came to the forest and he never saw a woman. So he grew up. He had never seen a woman. He didn't know anything about women. And he was living in the forest. But they needed someone who could do the yagna, to bring rain. And they heard how there was this one boy living in the forest who was very powerful. And he's never seen a woman in his whole life. So they arranged to send these beautiful young heavenly women into the forest to attract Rishi Shringa. So Rishi Shringa, he was living in the forest and he met these young women. And he'd never seen, wow, they're so nice. He became so attracted to them that he followed them. And they brought Rishi Shringa into the palace, and then Rishi Shringa did the yagya for them and he brought rain. So they used the ladies, they used the beauty of the opposite sex to attract Rishi Shringa. Although he'd never ever seen a woman, but still he was so attracted when he saw these ladies. And they brought him into the town, and then he did the yagya and he got rain. And then he did other yagyas and brought sons for Maharaj Dasara. Okay, so then more kings are mentioned. Jayadratha is mentioned. From Driti came Dritavrata, from Dritavrata Satkarma, from Satkarma Adirata. And when we hear about Kunti, how Kunti, before her marriage, she delivered a child by the sun god, right? She had that power that she could call demigods. So the sun god insisted that he give Kunti a child, and he promised her at the same time, you can keep your virginity intact. So she delivered the child, but what's she going to do with it? She was not married. And so she put the baby, which she delivered, she put the baby onto a boat. And that boat was set down the river. And the boat eventually came to the bank, and it was found by this man, Adirat. Adirat had no sons. So he took this child as his own, and this child was known as Karna. And Karna, actually, he's the eldest brother of the Pandavas. And he was the first child of Kunti before her marriage. So the Pandavas didn't know this, only Kunti knew this. So the only son, so Karna also was married, and his son was Vrishasena. And then the third son of Yayati, Druyu, he had a son named Babru, and the son of Babru was known as Setu. Oh. Then more children, more sons. We hear about the Prachetas. The sons of the Prachetas occupied the northern side of India, which was devoid of Vedic civilization. So the sons of Pracheta, they occupied the northern side of India. There was no Vedic culture, and they became kings there. And Yayati's second son, Durvasu, and his sons. So we're hearing about the different children of Yayati. He had what, 5 children? Oh. So then, here you see in text 17, it says, Karandama's son was Maruta. Maruta had no sons, and who therefore adopted a son of the Puru dynasty. He adopted a son as his own. The Puru dynasty meaning the dynasty in which Maharaj Dusmanta had come. Maharaj Dusmanta, of course, he had conceived the child in the womb of Shakuntala, and that child was Bharat. So we're told about Maharaj Dusmanta. Desiring to occupy the throne, he returned to his original dynasty, the Puru dynasty, even though he had accepted Maruta as his father. O Maharaj Parikshit, let me now describe the dynasty of Yadu, the eldest son of Maharaj Yayati. This description is supremely pious and it vanquishes the reactions of sinful activities in human society. Simply by hearing this description, one is freed from all sinful reactions. Oh, so this is very wonderful. We're going to hear about the Yadu dynasty, right? The eldest son of Yayati was Yadu. Remember, Yadu, he had a good reason why he didn't want to accept his father's old age. That he knew that the Lord is going to come in his dynasty, and he didn't want to delay the appearance of the Lord. So we're told, hearing about this dynasty, that it destroys sinful reactions. Because it's in relation to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna comes in the Yadu dynasty. The next text says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the Supersoul in the hearts of all living entities, descended in his original form as a human being in the dynasty or family of Yadu. Yadu had 4 sons, named Sahasrajit, Krushta, Nala, and Ripu. Of these 4, the eldest, Sahasrajit, had a son named Shatajit, who had 3 sons, named Mahahaya, Renuhaya, and Haihaya. Okay. And then we have a nice purport here by Srila Prabhupada. Purports about understanding the absolute truth. The majority of transcendentalists understand only the impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very difficult to understand. Right? The absolute truth is known as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. But for most people to understand the Bhagavan, to understand the personality of Godhead, is very difficult. Some people, usually, if they're a little transcendental, they can understand Brahman. Some people a little higher can understand Paramatma. But to understand Bhagavan, it's very rare. So Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita 7.3, out of thousands among men, only one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who've achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. The yogis and jnanis, the mystic yogis and the impersonalists, they can understand the absolute truth as impersonal or localized. But although such realized souls are above ordinary human beings, they cannot understand the Supreme Absolute Truth. They cannot understand how the Supreme Absolute Truth can be a person. Therefore it is said, out of many siddhas, many perfected beings, the souls who have already realized the Absolute Truth, in other words, siddhas, they have realized the Absolute Truth to some degree, they can understand Krishna. They may understand Krishna who resembles a human being. This human form was explained by Krishna himself after he manifested the Virata Rup. The Virata Rup is not the original form of the Lord. The Lord's original form is Dvibhuja, Sham Sundar, Murlidhar, the Lord with 2 hands playing a flute. The Lord's forms are proof of his inconceivable qualities. Although he maintains innumerable universes within the period of his breath, he is dressed with a form exactly like that of a human being. This does not mean, however, that he is a human being. This is his original form, but he looks like a human being. Those with a poor fund of knowledge consider him an ordinary man. And so then Bhagavad Gita 9:11 is quoted, that the foolish mock at me, descending amongst them like a human being. They do not know my transcendental nature and supreme dominion over everything. So by the Lord's transcendental nature, He is the all-pervading Paramatma, living in the core of the hearts of all living entities. But He looks like a human being. Mayavadi philosophy says the Lord is originally impersonal, but assumes a human form and many other forms when He descends. Actually, however, He is originally like a human being, and the impersonal Brahman consists of the rays of His body. And Prabhupada quotes Brahma Samhita, Yashya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Kautishvashesha Vasudati Vibhuti Binham Tad Brahma Nishkalam, like that. Govinda Madipursam Tamaham Bhajamin. And Bhagavad Gita also said, Lord Krishna said, Brahmano hi pratistaham amrita shyava yashyacha. He said, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. So the Brahman comes from Krishna. The origin of the Brahman is Lord Krishna Himself. Lord Krishna appears like a human form. We are made in the form of God. We are made in the image of God. It's not that God is made in the image of man, but we are made in the image of God. So we have to understand properly the nature of the Lord's transcendental form. That though He appears like a human being, He is always transcendental. All right? So then we hear about these different sons, high, and their sons, different children. The son of Kritavirya was Arjuna. He, not just Arjuna, the son of Kritavirya was Arjuna. He, Kartavirya Arjuna, became the emperor of the entire world, consisting of 7 islands, and received mystic power from Dattatreya, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus he obtained the mystic perfection known as Astasiddhi. Now, this Kartavirya Arjuna, we heard about him, we're hearing about him. We heard that Parasurama had killed him. But anyway, we're hearing about him here again, that he got this benediction from Dattatreya, who's the incarnation of the Lord. And by that benediction, he got all the Ashtasiddhis. Now, Ashtasiddhis, of course, that's a material perfection. It's not something which a devotee really wants. But this Kartavirya Arjuna, he's not a great devotee. He's quite a materialistic person. Anyway, we're told about Kartavirya Arjuna. No other king in this world could equal Kartavirya Arjuna in sacrifices, charity, austerity, mystic power, education, strength, or mercy. For 85,000 years, Kartavirya Arjuna continuously enjoyed material opulences with full bodily strength and unimpaired memory. In other words, he enjoyed inexhaustible material opulences with his 6 senses. Of the 1,000 sons of Kartavirya Arjuna, only 5 remained alive after the fight with Parasurama. And their names were Jayadwaja, Surasena, Vrishabha, Madhu, and Urjit. And we're not told anymore about Kartavirya Arjuna. We already heard about how Lord Parasurama had killed them. Anyway, we're told about there were 5. Kartavirya Arjuna originally had 1,000 sons, but after Parasuram had gone there were only 5 survived, and these 5, they had their descendants. And we're told about them. One was Jayadwaja, and he had a son named Talajanga, who had 100 sons. All the Kshatriyas in that dynasty, known as Talajanga, were annihilated by the great power received by Maharaj Sagar from Urva Rishi. So there were different sons coming from the sons of Talajanga. Vitihotra was the eldest. The son of Vitihotra named Madhu had sons, and Vrishni was the eldest. Madhu had 100 sons. Madhu had 100 sons, of whom Vrishni was the eldest. And then the dynasties known as Yadava, Madhava and Vrishni had their origin from Yadu, Madhu and Vrishni. So these dynasties, Yadava dynasty, Madhava dynasty and Vrishni dynasty, they're all coming from these 3, Yadu, Madhu and Vrishni. So Yadu was the eldest son of Yayati, and then in the course of their descendants, there was somebody called Madhu, who was the son of Vitihotra. Vitihotra was the son of Talajanga, and Talajanga was one of the sons of Yadu, I think. Madhu. Well, Madhu was one of the sons remaining from the 5 sons who survived Parasuram. Jayadwaja had a son named Talajanga, and Talajanga had a son named Vitihotra, and Vitihotra had a son named Madhu. So, in this way, you've got the Madhu, the Yadu and Vrishni, who are the origin of the 3 dynasties, Yadava, Madhava and Vrishni dynasty. So Yadu, Madhu and Vrishni each inaugurated a dynasty. Dynasties known as Yadava, Madhava and Vrishni. The son of Yadu, named, and we're told about their sons. The greatly fortunate Shashabindu, who was a great mystic, possessed 14 opulences and was the owner of 14 great jewels. Thus he became the emperor of the world. And the 14 jewels are mentioned. First of all, 1, an elephant, 2, a horse, 3, a chariot, 4, a wife, 5, arrows, 6, a reservoir of wealth, 7, a garland, 8, valuable costumes, 9, trees, 10, a sphere, 11, a noose, 12, jewels, 13, an umbrella, and 14, regulative principles. To be the emperor, one must possess all 14 of these opulences. Shashabindu possessed them all. Thus he became the emperor of the world. The famous Shashabindu had 10,000 wives, and by each he begot 100,000 sons. Therefore, the number of his sons was 10,000 lakh. 1 lakh means 100,000. So 10,000 lakhs. Among these many sons, 6 were the foremost. And we're told their names. The son of Prithu was known as Dharma, his son was known as Ushana. Ushana was the performer of 100 horse sacrifices. And then more sons are mentioned. We're told Jayamega, King Jayamega. Jayamaga had no sons, but because he was fearful of his wife, Saibya, he could not accept another wife. Jayamaga once took from the house of some royal enemy a girl who was a prostitute. But upon seeing her, Saibya was very angry and said to her husband, "My husband, you cheater, who is this girl sitting upon my seat on the chariot?" Jayamaga then replied, "This girl will be your daughter-in-law." Upon hearing these joking words, Saibya smilingly replied, "I am sterile and have no co-wife. How can this girl be my daughter-in-law? Please tell me." Jayamaga replied, "My dear queen, I shall see that you indeed have a son, and that this girl will be your daughter-in-law." Long, long ago, Jayamaga had satisfied the demigods and Pitas by worshipping them. Now, by their mercy, Jayamaga's words came true. Although Saibya was barren, by the grace of the demigods she became pregnant, and in due course of time gave birth to a child named Vidarbha. Before the child's birth, the girl had been accepted as a daughter-in-law, and therefore Vidarbha actually married her when he grew up. Okay, this is the end of chapter 23. Some questions on this chapter? Unusual stories are being told here. Jayamaga and his wife Saibya, and the talking between them. So Jayamaga is mentioned, the son of, it said the son of Ushana was Ruchaka, who had 5 sons, and Jayamaga was one of them. Ushana was the performer of 100 horse sacrifices, and Ushana was the son of Dharma. All right, so Shashabindu, 10,000 wives, and by each wife he begot 1 lakh of sons. I hope he can get wives for all of them. Anyway, Shashabindu was a great mystic. He had 14 opulences, so he became the emperor of the world. Okay, any comments on this? Any questions at all? You can see where they're introducing now us to the dynasty, the Yadu dynasty. So we're going to hear very soon about Lord Krishna and the Yadu dynasty and the pastimes there.
Yes, what were the glories of Ushana? So that Krishna is speaking in Bhagavad Gita, I am Ushana. That Ushana is here?
Yeah, it could be that Ushana, yes. Ushana, the performer. What did Lord Krishna say? He's what of Ushana? What's it, the verse?
I am Ushana. I have to refer to the verse. What is the chapter 10, verse number 37? Chapter 10, verse 37.
Huh?
Maharaj, chapter 10, verse number 37.
Read
Krishna
it.
is speaking.
Read it.
Yes. Vrushinang Vasudevasmi Pandavanang Dhananjaya Moninam Apyahang Vyasah Kavinam Ushana Kavihi Kavinam Ushana Kavihi Kavinam. Of all the thinkers, means poets, of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudeva. And of the Pandavas, I am Arjun. Of the sages, I am Vyasa. And among great thinkers, I am Ushana.
Oh. Yeah, wow, it could be, but all we're told about Ushana here is that he was the performer of 100 horse sacrifices.
Maharaj, in the purport of that text, Prabhupada says Ushna is referring to Sukracharya. So this is different Ushna.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, Sukracharya is different, definitely. Yeah, Sukracharya, the guru of the demons. So not the same Ushana. Okay, thank you for that, Paramakaruna Prabhu.
Maharaj, a question regarding Sasha Bindu. 10,000 wives, and in each he begot 1 lakh sons. Even Krishna, didn't have so many sons and, a wife. And then how to, because earlier on we were speaking about, sense gratification, sense enjoyment, and how it affects both men and women. He wasn't spiritual, he's described as he had mystical powers. So then, how was he able to do this without, we don't hear him catching any, his health seemed fine compared to just earlier on we were hearing about Vichittavirya.
Well,
So
it does say that Shashabindu was a great mystic. He was a great mystic, and he possessed 14 opulences. So possessing these opulences certainly made him very powerful. Just in his mystic powers, by his mystic powers, he could do these things. Have so many wives and so many children. It's not that he had to have 1 child each time. He could produce all the children maybe at one time, maybe. I don't know how they do it, but, certainly Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, they had 100 sons at one time. And so some of them, if they have 1,000 sons, they could do it at one time. I don't know how they could have a lakh. A lakh is 100,000. My goodness,
Yeah.
Could you imagine bringing up 1 lakh? Oh my goodness, inconceivable. Anyway, he had 10,000 wives, so each wife begot a lakh of sons, so each wife has to take care of 100,000 sons. Oh my goodness, the population explosion, eh? I don't know how they would manage. Mataji is saying 2 children was so much, it's so difficult. And here you have a lack of sons, you know, bringing up sons. And we hope they all cooperate together with each other. That's important. Usually sons will fight with each other. Hopefully they all cooperated with each other. And we know Daksha also, he had a lot of sons, you know, he had sons, and he would send them all to do austerity, and when they come back to get married. But of course Narada Muni would preach to them, they wouldn't come back. Right? The Hariyasvas and the Shavalasvas, first of all, was what? How many sons? 10,000 or more?
That's what I remember. 10,000 and then 1,000.
Yeah, right. So many, and they would have produce, because Daksha, he was expert in producing progeny, and so this Shashabindu, he was another. He had some mystic power, could produce all these children. 10,000 wives. Lord Krishna has 16,000 wives, so 10,000, not so many. But Shashabindu, he couldn't expand like Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna could expand and take care of them all, personally, individually. But we don't hear Shashabindu could do that. But he was a great mystic. And he did have some opulences. And he's the emperor of the world. And so, so difficult for us to fully appreciate them.
The Maharaj, he's said to have possessed 14 opulences, and then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is giving a list of those opulences.
Yes.
Now, there's no other description regarding these list. Like, there's no description of each of the items there. Like, okay, what's the big deal of having a garland, for example? Or a spear, or a noose? These things are listed, and there's no description given, like if it was a special kind of garland or a special kind of noose, or like that.
Yeah, we're not given any real information, are we? Umbrella, it could be the white umbrella, which is the umbrella of the emperor. Jewels, of course, they're different. What kind of, it could be, like Lord Krishna has the Kaustubha jewel, but there's only one Kaustubha jewel. What jewels does he have? It could be, there are many things, could be, yeah. It's not clearly explained. I don't know what the commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur say. Did anybody read the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti on this? What are these 14 opulences?
There's nothing on it much.
No? Yeah, you'd have to do a lot of research to come up with all of this. We're just trying to work with what Prabhupada's given us, you know. We just have to work with what's here in Prabhupada's books. To try to go beyond that, you know, would take a lot of time, a lot of extra work.
Yeah, and then there's a slight difference in the list as well. Like item number 14, Srila Prabhupada says regulatory principles, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says aeroplane.
Aeroplane?
Yeah.
My goodness, yeah, quite a difference, yeah. Well, words like that, Sanskrit words, they can be interpreted different ways. Otherwise, everything else is the same, huh?
Seems like it much.
Okay. And he just lists the 14 items, he doesn't comment on them.
Yeah.
Maybe in Valmiki Ramayana I can find something on this, maybe. Okay. So difficult to know how to go on from there. Okay, so we have one chapter left. We'll finish it tomorrow night.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
I don't think we need to go on any further tonight, eh? Okay, Prabhu, so we'll finish here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go back to Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki.